So I recently went to the Creators for Change Summit with YouTube. For those of you who don't know, last year I was made a YouTube Creators for Change fellow, subsequently spent quite a lot of hours and months making a short video essay on the topic of Britishness and trying to get the British Empire on the curriculum. Another joyous thing that involves is going to these Creators for Change summits. Now this one I went to was a little bit different from the last. The last one was solely for fellows. We worked a lot in workshops and on production and that kind of thing. And this time it was more of like a TED Talk kind of affair. I kind of went with a half skeptical mind, mainly because I'm British, but also because I'm just like, what is change? Why? And the world is getting so much worse. Why are we even trying? I then proceeded to spend the next 8 hours crying and had to go back to the hotel room for a little nap. Every single one of the speakers absolutely floored me, like pulled my gut to the bottom of my stomach, made me rethink how I'm living my life, and I just wanted to share a few of my thoughts on them today. Like many of you, I've kind of been getting a little bit like in my own head about what platforms I upload my content to, like, you know, how those things work and getting into the metrics of things, when really I just want to concentrate on making shit and thinking about how I'm living my life. It's so much more, I don't know. This summit definitely gave me a lot of hope and a lot of inspiration is a word I hate. Momentum is the word I want to use. It gave me a lot of momentum. So I just wanted to share some of the points that I kind of took away from the amazing speakers that were there. While there's maybe like 100, 150 people that got to attend that summit, I wanted to spread the love further because that's what the camera is for. Point being, the first two people that came to speak was the Global Head of Public Policy at YouTube and Ben, the Content Partnership Creator. And then after that, they were like, yeah, so we've got a guest. We haven't told you about who it is, but if you could not take pictures and you know, immediately share on social media, that would be great. But here is Malala. I told people afterwards what had happened, and people were like, what did she say? And I'm like, she said the stuff that I've heard her say before, but that's not really what had the impact for me. That's not what hit me in the gullet. The gullet feeling was in the same way that I think theatre has an impact on you. There's something that you get from theatre that you don't get from film. When a human breathing person is in the room and you don't feel like this is a report of what has happened. You don't feel like there's this proscenium arch separating you. You feel like the characters are in the room and the thing is in the room. And that's kind of what it felt like seeing Malala. It meant a lot. And I think to some people it's like, oh yeah, Malala, but seriously, like, I didn't expect to feel that way when she was in the room, because obviously, like, I really honour and respect her work, but to have her in the room and to be like, oh, she's a person, not just a person. We don't use the word just, but she's a person and she's just moving through the world. It just kind of grounds you and kind of breaks that brainwashed cycle in your head that you're like, oh, here are the heroes over here and here are you, the proletariat. Next, Evelyn of the internet, who I bloody fucking love, did an amazing speech. The takeaway that I got from it was sometimes you forget and like push all these constraints and raise all the bars for yourself, which is a good thing, but often it's not what you say, it's who you are when you're saying it, where you're saying it from. It's not about the production quality or how articulate you are. It can sometimes be that representation or that witness or that example that you're setting. Then this guy got onto stage called Dave. Can there be a more dad name than Dave? Anyway, Dave came, and turns out Dave is like CEO of this huge charity that works with National Archives, which is all about putting booths in places like Grand Central Station, inviting people to come in and have honest conversations with each other about their relationship, whether they're like small child and mum, or, you know, like sisters, partners. It's just really moving. And they record audio, sometimes they do video, and they played this video about a little autistic kid who was asking his mum, like, if she liked him as a person and if she liked his sister more because his sister had more friends. And it was one of the most heartbreaking, beautiful conversations to listen to ever, and they'd animated it and I was just bawling. Rosianna did an amazing talk about her Creates for Change project. If you haven't seen it, I really recommend it. What I love about her project and what she talked about was giving the cameras to the people she was featuring and telling the stories in the way that they'd want them told, and honouring people's voices and putting listening at the core of how you arrange your content and stuff, which I think was... Hassan Akkad is the guy who features in the Exodus documentary, which I've seen a bit of. The Guardian made it won loads of awards, and basically he told his story about becoming a refugee from going, you know, riding in his car with his friends and, you know, having all these luxuries and these this is really normal life that looks so much like ours, to becoming a refugee. How he grabbed his GoPro and his battery packs and his memory cards and he recorded the whole journey. He showed us clips of him on this dinghy where, you know, this dinghy almost sinks with all these people on it, and he records the whole thing, which is like, I don't know how you do that in that moment. So glad he did. And I cried at the end because of this moment he talks about where he finally gets to the border. He finally gets to the British border, and after going through all of these horrific things, having his arms broken, pushing a dinghy, swimming across the ocean and getting all these like fake passports to try and get to Britain, getting to Britain, and finally having to say the words, "I'd like to claim refuge. I'm a refugee," and I'm crying a bit now. But like having to own that moment of like having to change your identity for what you need, it shook me up, and I think I don't think I can go back to before I heard that talk. I just don't think that I'm ever gonna think about things in the same way or act in the same way after it. Okay. Hassan said something in that talk that I just like immediately wrote down on my phone, and I was so terrified of writing stuff down on my phone because I was like, people are gonna think I'm tweeting. This thing that he said, I think because people were asking him like why he did this work and why he was still fighting, and he just said this thing that's like, he's like, I'm not an activist inherently. There's not a gene that makes me somebody who has become an activist. He just said, you're not born an activist, you become one when there's a problem. Tina Rosenberg, she was there talking about solution-based journalism and how she's doing loads of stuff to combat a kind of training that most journalists have, which is to report what's going wrong in the world, and integrating solutions into that reporting of bad things. So not just being like, everything's fine, everything's happy, taking note of those happy stories, but also taking note of when something goes wrong, finding a comparison and being like, we've really fucked our economy, but look what Denmark are doing. They're doing it better. Finding people that are doing the thing that your country is doing wrong better, and putting it in the story to remind people of the alternatives, and not that it's just like this downward spiral of like, humans are bad and that is why things are spiraling into despair. I didn't know that that was a proper thing that people were campaigning for, and like it was like solutions-based journalism. What? Another person that stood out to me was DeRay, who he is on a podcast that I listened to a few times called Pod Save the People, which is a very American-based solutions political podcast about what they can do about all of the shit that's going down. I think he's the founder of Black Lives Matter, or he was definitely like a huge part of it, and he like absolutely astonishing to listen to. He had so much wisdom, so much patience, and he was, you know, I think people have this idea in their head that activists are angry, that they're furious, and they have like this fury kind of energy, but they're not, I don't know, he was a very like humble, kind, like settled person. This kind of productive anger about him, this like calm, welcoming, I haven't shut myself off to the world kind of passion. And it's just like even everything that he was saying, just like having that and radiating that kind of like harked back to Evelyn's talk about just kind of like turning up and being there. Something that I wrote down that he said was trying to explain what protest is, because people are like, why'd you turn up to protest? Why can't you just do these things instead? And he's like, protesting is telling the truth in public. And like, obviously you should be doing all the things to like actively change stuff, but protesting is part of that because it's turning up and telling the truth in public. Like, I used to go to lots of protests, and I've kind of seen quite a few going on in London recently and been like, should I go? Am I just one of those like good people who just goes to protests and doesn't really change anything? And I you know, I'm trying to do other stuff too, but I think that that line alone made me go, oh, I should definitely still go to protests. That's definitely still part of changing shit. Thank you so much for listening. I don't know what this video was, but I just wanted to like have some thoughts on that and like record it for myself, because I feel like this channel is also just my video diary of like things that have affected me. Yeah, it was so nice to just connect with people again and meet new people. I, for one, am guilty of living in my head in this like US, UK, YouTube bubble, and I think that the conversations that are happening there are the only conversations that are happening, and how YouTube is doing in the UK is the only way that YouTube is doing. And it was so nice to meet people from like Thailand and India, Ghana and Australia, and just like hear about the community's there, hear about what the conversations are there, get invited to come and like stay at their house, and they were just so generous and bloody lovely, and it just gave me the warm feels and reminded me that my staunch belief is that most people are good. Most people are hurt, but most people are good. You'll be seeing a lot more videos on the channel again, because I had a bit of a break in January of working on a lot of stuff and trying to write. I'm trying to do the writing thing, because I feel like I'm somebody who's always like, I'm a creative writer, I always do the writing, but like I've actually been getting down and doing the writing this month, so that's been really good. But you'll see more videos on this channel very soon. Thank you for watching. Okay, bye. Frog snug, out.